911. Do you need police, fire, or medic?
I need everybody. Hey man, I shot my wife.
You shot your wife?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me get medic on the line with us. One moment.
Hey,
What's the street name?
Cosby.
Is it Cosby, sir?
Cosby. Oh my God.
Okay, listen to me. I need to get your street name so that we can get you some
How
help.
did you do it? Oh no.
Okay, listen. I need you to say it clearly.
Oh my God. I can't got you home. Oh.
Ma'am. What is your street name?
What?
Okay, listen to me. Ma'am.
Oh my God.
Ma'am. I need you to give
No, my wife is me. I can't believe it.
Okay, we can't help you unless you give us a...
I don't understand why I'm doing.
Medical fighting in court.
Color.
What was going through my mind, what I was thinking at the time was that she was being let free. She was going to be with the Lord and someone she highly praised.
Only God knows what happened.
Her 59th birthday was supposed to be different. The family had plans, friends had plans. A colleague from Ulta Beauty had even penciled her in for a full beat of makeup that weekend. Instead of candles and cake, over 200 people gathered at Hornets Nest Park and released red balloons into the Charlotte sky. Red was her favorite color. The celebration turned into a memorial, all because the person responsible for her last breath wasn't a stranger who broke in through the dark. It was the man she had shared a last name and a life with for over 3 decades. The father of her children. The man who once stood beside her at the altar. Welcome back to True Crime Unravelled. We read every single comment you leave, and let me tell you, the discussions lately have been incredible. Keep them coming over on our socials, at True Crime Unraveled TV on Facebook and Instagram. More than 200 people didn't just show up to mourn, they showed up to make a statement. Red balloons clutched in their hands, a sea of faces who knew her as Pastor Tammy, or as the Ulta makeup artist who made everybody feel beautiful, or simply as Grandma. At Hornets Nest Park, the family released those balloons into a gray Charlotte sky, watching as the colors she loved most disappeared toward the clouds. Her son, Davion, said watching them float away felt like watching his mother finally be let free. There were no angry speeches that day, just silence, tears, and the soft sound of latex rubbing against the wind. What was supposed to be her 59th birthday celebration had turned into a visual eulogy. And the man responsible for making that necessary was nowhere near that park. He was sitting in a cell, waiting to answer for why a birthday became a memorial.
Family and friends held a balloon release for Tammy McCollum. Her husband is charged in a first-degree murder in Tammy's death. 61-year-old Eddie McCollum admitted to killing his wife just this week. Siobhan Riley spoke with friends and family who say Tammy was preparing for a big celebration today.
More than 200 people came out here to Hornets Nest Park in Charlotte to honor Tammy McCollum on her birthday. She would have turned 59 years old. Family and friends hugged, shed tears, held red balloons, and listened to one of Tammy McCollum's favorite songs. Instead of planning Tammy's birthday, loved ones held a balloon release to remember the life of Tammy, who was shot and killed by her husband, Eddie McCollum, a teaching assistant at Southwest Middle School in Charlotte.
A world of emotions, just mostly trying to hold it together for family and friends. But it's just going to be tough, a long road, probably for the rest of my life.
Davion 40 was Tammy's son. He says the red balloons are symbolic. Red was Tammy's favorite color.
What was going through my mind, what I was thinking at the time was that she was being let free. She was going to be with the Lord and someone she highly praised.
Only God knows what happens.
Joyce Phillips worked with Tammy and her husband Eddie for 8 years in ministry.
I was numb. I was numb because I had just seen Eddie, and it's just, I don't know, because I know one thing, the couple that I know, he really loved his wife. They loved each other.
Loved ones say they don't want to focus on how Tammy died. They want this balloon released to honor the life she lived.
I decide you can release the balloon.
As the balloons went into the sky, friends and family reflected on how many lives Tammy impacted.
Let her know that she's loved and she's going to be missed.
She was able to touch people's hearts wherever you were in life, good, bad, whatever. Whatever you were, she was able to reach you.
Judgment free.
Oh, you got to say it loud!
In Charlotte, Siobhan Riley, WCNC Charlotte.
Today, we're doing something different. We're not just going to tell you what happened on Cardington Court. We're going to put you in the jury box. You're going to hear the case as if you're sitting in a Mecklenburg County courtroom. We'll dissect the same bullet points of evidence, but we'll frame them twice. Once through the eyes of the prosecution, once through the eyes of the defense. By the end, you'll need to decide for yourself. But before we seat the jury, we have to establish the facts, the cold, indisputable truths that neither side can argue with. At roughly 2 a.m. on April 6, 2026, Charlotte Mecklenburg police responded to a home on Cardington Court in the northwestern part of the city. Inside, they found 58-year-old Tammy McCollum, deceased from multiple gunshot wounds. She was a minister at the Well Worship Center in Statesville, a mother of 3, and a grandmother to children ranging from 1 year old to 11.
Are you going to lay on your stomach and you're going to go put your hands behind your back, and with getting up, you can't go on your side or your back. Try getting up.
Excuse me? 2, 1, go.
Her husband, 61-year-old Eddie McCollum, was present at the scene. He was taken into custody without incident. He has since been charged with first-degree murder. A grand jury has handed down an indictment. He's currently sitting in the Mecklenburg County Jail under a $1 million bond, and his next court date is set. Those are the trees. The battle will be fought in the forest that surrounds them. Now, before we let the lawyers go head-to-head, let's talk about a little legal concept called premeditation. First-degree murder requires the state to prove that the killing was intentional, deliberate, and planned, even if that plan was hatched only seconds before the trigger was pulled. It's the difference between a crime of passion in the heat of the moment and a cold, calculated act. The prosecution has to show that Eddie didn't just react. He decided. The defense is going to argue that this was pure panic, a sudden snap, or possibly even an accident. So keep your ears open as we walk through the evidence. Does it look like panic? Or does it look like a man executing a plan? The state's case. Let's start with the photo the prosecution would pin to the board. Easter Sunday, April 6th, 2026. The holiest day on the Christian calendar. Tammy McCollum stood at the front of the Well Worship Center and delivered her final sermon. Her message was titled Emotions versus Maturity. Think about that. A pastor who is studying for a master's in Christian counseling decides to preach about the battle between our feelings and our grown-up judgment. Later that night, an argument broke out. And the prosecution is going to argue that Eddie let his emotions completely annihilate his maturity. The daughter, Davlin, had just flown out to Utah. She messaged her mom from the airport, from the layover, and finally when she landed. "Hey, Mommy, I'm here," she wrote. "Yay," Tammy replied. Those were the last words her daughter would ever receive. The state's strongest piece of wood is the 911 call. Eddie McCollum picked up the phone himself. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He spoke to the dispatcher, but he couldn't get the address right. He was hysterical. "Oh my God, I just shot my wife," he cried. When the dispatcher asked if she shot herself, Eddie clarified, "No, I shot her." Then came the despair of a man realizing what he had done. Why? Oh God, my kids and my grandkids.
911, do you need police, fire, or medic?
I need everybody. Hey man, I shot my wife.
You shot your wife?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me get medic on the line with us. One moment.
Hey,
What's the street name?
Cosby.
Is it Cosby, sir?
Cosby. Oh my God.
Okay, listen to me. I need to get your street name so that we can get you some
Cosby Court. Oh no what?
Okay, listen. I need you to say it clearly.
Oh my God. I can't got you home. Oh.
Ma'am. What is your street name? Listen to me. Ma'am.
Oh my God.
Ma'am. I need you to give
No, my wife is me. I can't believe it.
Okay, we can't help you unless you give us a...
I don't understand why I'm doing.
Medical City, Coddington Court. Coddington.
I don't know how to work a phone. Hold on, I don't even know how to... Oh, help me, Lord God. Oh, I don't even know how to work.
Sir.
Oh.
Police, what is the street name?
Coddington Court.
Okay, I cannot hear. C-A-R? Cardington, C-A-R-D-I-N.
C-A-R-D-I-N-G-T-O-N. Cardington. Oh my God, I just shot my wife.
Listen, what is the phone number you're calling from?
It's her number. Oh my God, my phone down.
Tell me exactly what happened.
We were off you. Okay. And I told her, I said, we were arguing, and I told her she was just doing some stuff and recording and stuff and working good. Well, we were arguing about it, and then she went over to her bed. She had a picture also, she went over to her bed. And I thought she was going to get her. I didn't think I had nothing.
What did you do?
I didn't think I had nothing in my gun. I said, oh my God.
Did she shoot herself?
No, I shot her.
You shot her?
I thought she was going to get her blood.
And listen to me, sir.
I my wife. Oh God, this is happening. Oh, my kids and my grandkids. Oh my God.
Sir, I want to help you. Are you with her right now?
She's right here. She's going
Sir. You're not helping her. You are not helping her.
I can't help her. She's dead.
Okay, sir. You shot her in the head? Okay. Is she awake, sir? Yes or no?
No, she's not.
Is she? Is she breathing?
We were arguing with friends. I can't believe it. She's too good.
Do you think she's beyond any help?
No.
Sir.
Oh, hell no. Help me, Jesus. I knew my wife.
Listen to me.
Listen. I keep telling you. Don't make me. Don't do this to me. What am I going to tell my family? All right, come on. Let's go.
Hands invisible. Step outside your door.
I don't have anything. It's on my bed. You know what? Before we do all that, y'all got to come get me. I'm not doing all that. I'm telling you what I did. I ain't got no hope for nobody else. That situation that went down here was come on, man. Don't do this. now, and it's on the radio. So I don't give a damn. Come in, kill me. Well, hell, it just fell on the step. But the clip is upset. Anything that you want to do, fuck it. I killed my wife. What the hell? I'm done. Y'all don't understand, realize what I am. I'm done. I killed my wife. I'm done. My life is over because I don't have her.
So where's your weapon?
It's come up the steps. The gun is on the steps. The clip is on the steps.
Okay, can you go out? Can you go outside for me to meet with
No! I'm not leaving her.
Okay. Make sure you don't have a weapon in your hand.
Come on, man! Oh my God! You guys, we're out there. Oh God, Lord Jesus, we're in our bedroom. I'm right here beside her.
We need you to step outside.
Man, stop!
So we can get so the medic can get to your wife.
Bruh, they gonna have to kill me. Come get my wife. I ain't got nothing for nobody. I ain't seen her to my birthday is the 21st.
Right, so they can use her.
That shit, I'm good. Come get my.
The prosecution is going to play that tape for the jury. They will highlight that moment where he told the dispatcher exactly where the murder weapon was, out on the steps. Cooperation isn't necessarily innocence. But in this case, the confession is the hammer. But the prosecution doesn't only have his words. They have his actions. After the confession, after the walkthrough with detectives, Eddie did something that changed the entire dynamic of the investigation. He asked for a lawyer, and then he clammed up. Not a whisper since. In North Carolina, that is his absolute right. But the jury is allowed to wonder. If he was so willing to spill his guts on the phone and at the scene, why the sudden radio silence? The state will argue that once he realized that he wasn't just in trouble, but that he was facing life behind bars, the honest routine ended. They will point to the fact that he allegedly used a shotgun inside a home. That isn't a push or a shove. That is a high degree of lethality. Then there is the question of the marriage itself. The defense is going to try to paint a picture of a snap. The prosecution is going to paint a picture of a man who was losing control. The data isn't on Eddie's side here. Right now in Charlotte, overall crime is down, but domestic homicides are trending in the wrong direction. Police reports show a 38% increase in homicides in the first quarter of 2026. The prosecution doesn't need to prove he was a monster for 30 years. They just need to prove that in that single instant, he pulled the trigger with intent. The defense's case. Okay, now the courtroom flips. The prosecutor sits down. The defense attorney stands up. And before they say a word, they're going to show the jury a photo too. Not of the crime scene, but of a Facebook post from Tammy from just a few years ago. In it, she calls Eddie an amazing man of God. She says she is truly blessed and that she's looking forward to the next 100 years together. Those are her own words. The defense is going to lean heavily on the daughter, Davlin. In her raw, heartbreaking interview, Davlin was adamant. The word confusion came up over and over again. She looked the public in the eye and said, "That wasn't my parents. Their relationship wasn't arguments all day, every day. She wasn't a weak individual. She wasn't abused." If the prosecution wants to argue this was a domestic violence powder keg waiting to blow, the defense has the couple's own child saying, "No, that wasn't it." So what was it?
Just really devastating. Can you kind of take us through what you were told happened?
I wasn't really told much that happened, not from the detectives or any law enforcement. I guess they were more concerned with getting as much information from me as they could. They weren't really providing much information. Even after I let them know multiple times, like I wasn't in town and neither were my brothers. So we kind of didn't really know what was going on. No one was there. So no one has the story of what happened. No one in the world. Because as everyone knows, my dad is now in jail. And my mom is no longer with us. So, but what happened is probably something that if we ever get the answer to that, it won't be anytime soon.
And so the man was your father, biological father?
Correct.
You know, when you get that call that your mother has been murdered by her husband, what's going through your mind?
Disbelief, of course, shock, of course. I feel like everyone involved, myself, my siblings, our spouses, our children, I feel like everyone is in such a state of confusion because my father loved my mother dearly. So we're utterly confused because, of course, what's being put out right now is that there was a domestic dispute and that this was a domestic violent situation, but unfortunately that wasn't my parents. Their relationship wasn't tumultuous. Their relationship wasn't arguments all day, every day over the small things. We're talking about people who've been together for 30 years of their lives. They've raised 3 children who are now raising a slew of grandkids. And all of that we lost in the blink of an eye. So I think without anybody being there, I think we should stop painting a narrative because we don't know. My mother wasn't a weak individual. She wasn't an individual that didn't have people that she couldn't talk to if she was going through something. If she were in a situation that she felt like she couldn't get out of, she dig her way out of it. She wasn't abused. She wasn't mentally, verbally, that's not what was going on there. That's not what was going on there, which is, again, where everyone's confusion is coming from. We just don't know what happened.
And when you get the call that your father has been charged with first-degree murder, what are you thinking right now?
Anger, because that's the truth, that's what happened. We don't have many questions. We're just angry that it happened.
It's probably about 30 minutes.
Anger.
And can you tell us about your mother? Who is your mother, Tammy?
She was a diva. She was the biggest diva. She was the flyest, prettiest girl. That's all she wanted to do was look good. And she had the sweetest heart. Even as a grown woman, my mother unfortunately didn't make it to her 60th birthday. She'll be 59 on this Friday. But even as a grown woman, she's just a girl. She's just a girl. She just liked to do her makeup. She worked at Ulta. She just liked to go hang out with her girls at work. She worked at AT&T in the day, and then she worked at Ulta on the weekends and in the evenings, and she just liked to be with her girls. And she was a pastor as well at the Well Worship Center. She loved her church family. She loved her church family. She'd give you the shirt off of her back. And everybody says that when something like this happens, But I could probably walk through a mall and run across 4 or 5 random people that my mother and father had encountered and probably helped just in my lifetime. And I'm the youngest of my siblings. They've taken people in their homes off of the streets. Their children as well. They've fed people for months and months at a time. Confusion. It doesn't make sense.
What do you think made your father snap?
We don't know. But I feel like everyone in my family has used the same exact word that you just used. I feel like everyone in my family has used the same exact word that you just used. I feel like everyone in my family has used the same exact word that you just used. I don't feel like any of us genuinely believe this was anything that he harbored, or that this was anything that something happened. Something happened. And unfortunately, nobody was there. And for whatever reason, neither one of them called anybody. We're close. We have a very big family and we're very close. No one called anybody. No one called anybody. When tensions got high, no one called anybody and said, hey, man, your mama tripping. That's my dad. She didn't call and say, yeah, you can't tell your dad nothing. That's my mom. Not this. Not, yeah.
And you think that your parents, from as far as you know, they got along, there was no signs of abuse, no signs of domestic violence?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Which I feel like is what makes it hurt the most, because what reason did you have to do what you did? We don't excuse you. We don't excuse you. But we don't excuse you. But we also don't want anyone painting the incorrect picture. You did what you did, but they weren't in a domestic abusive relationship. Something happened and nobody was there. And only one of the people made it out. And no one has talked to him. So the same answers that everybody wants now, because my mom is the prettiest girl in the world and she's now a viral sensation, we want those answers too. We don't know why. We don't know why. But
Tell us about your father. What do you want people to know about your father?
My dad is a very well-known guy. So I feel like those that know my dad know my dad. So I don't really have to paint a picture for him. He loved my mom. My dad loved him. That was his girl. My dad loved my mom. Yeah.
And you said you have not had a conversation with him yet. You haven't been able to talk to him right now, correct?
No, ma'am.
Is there anything else? Your mother, you have so much love for your mother and the way you described her. You said that she's a beautiful woman and you had so much love for her. If you could say one last thing to your mother, what would you want to say to her?
Job well done, my girl. You did a good job. 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 And I was ready. And I'm handling it. And you would be so proud. And you could sleep well.
Tell us about your last conversation with your mother. When was the last time you spoke to her?
It was the morning of. And I was at her house, at my parents' house, because my dad was taking me and my fiance and my son to the airport. And so we were just, giving our hugs and kisses and safe travels and I love yous. I'll see you when you get back. And we communicated throughout the day. I was moving from airport to airport.
You're saying that you were in Charlotte, or she was in Utah?
So she was in Charlotte. I'm still in Utah. I haven't made it back home yet.
Oh, okay. When you mentioned the airport, I just wanted to make sure I.
Yeah. So while I was at the airport, like when I made it, because I had a layover. So when I made it to my layover, I let her know, "Hey, Mom, here." She, "Okay, baby." And then when I made it to the final destination, "Hey, Mommy, I'm here." And she, yay, send me pictures.
Gotcha. Anything else you want to say or add? Any final thoughts?
No final thoughts. No final thoughts. I'm glad that you guys reached out. I'm glad that I was able to add some sort of light and provide some sort of insight. She was no victim. She was no victim. I can't let that be the narrative. She was a very strong woman. She was a very strong woman. She had all 10 of her toes. All 10. Not sure what happened, but it happened, and we're here. And we thank God for life every day.
And you said your mother was a pastor. That church is in Charlotte. What's the name of it again?
No, ma'am. She's a pastor at the Well Worship Center in Statesville, North Carolina.
Statesville. Okay. Correct. Statesville. She the head pastor, or she one of the?
No, she's not the head pastor. My uncle Cedric Johnson, he's the head pastor there.
Okay. Okay. Hold on one second. Our photographer has one last question that he wants to ask too. Can you hear him?
Yes, ma'am.
What's the next steps?
Woo! We're taking everything kind of slow. So, of course, laying her to rest. That'll happen here within the next week or so. We've just now began telling her grandchildren, what's happened. The oldest got the information just an hour ago. It's a process. That's all there is to do, though, is to put her to rest because, we're still here.
What are her grandchildren saying?
What are they saying?
Yes. What are her grandchildren saying to you when you gave them that news? What was their response?
Yeah, they just started crying. It was they weren't really wordy. She was very close with all of her grandkids. She would very openly let it be known that she loved her grandchildren way more than she loved her children. And that just was what it was. And then we just had to deal with that. We could ask her for something and not get it. They could ask her for something and it was theirs. Those was grandma's babies. Those was Grammy's babies. Mm-hmm. And they were just hurt. There was no words. Just pure emotions. They're young. The oldest of her grandchildren is 11 years old. And the youngest is 1. So they're very young. It'll be an easier process, of course, because they are so young, but a process nonetheless. Just pray for her oldest grandchildren. They had the most time with her. They're the most, knowing. So just,
The defense is going to argue this was a tragic, accidental discharge during a heated argument, mishandled in a moment of extreme stupidity, not malice. They are going to focus on the chaos of that 911 call. The man could barely speak. He didn't know his own street name. He refused to leave her body when the police told him to come outside. No, I'm not leaving her, he said. Is that the language of a cold-blooded killer? Or a broken man who just made the worst mistake of his life? The defense will also fight like hell against the premeditation angle. Just because he used a gun doesn't mean he planned to use it. Where's the evidence of a plan? Did he buy the gun that day? Did he write a note? No. The argument happened, and the defense will argue that in the fog of anger, Eddie retrieved a weapon, maybe to scare her, maybe in a clumsy attempt to control the room, and it went off. They will bring up his career. He worked in the Exceptional Children program at Southwest Middle School. He was suspended with pay, but the defense will argue that this is a man who spent his days helping vulnerable kids. That doesn't fit the profile of a cold-blooded murderer.
We have a breaking update on Charlotte murder suspect. Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools says the man charged with killing his wife this week is an employee at Southwest Middle School. Police arrested 61-year-old Eddie McCollum Monday in connection with his wife's death. Officers say that McCollum called authorities after the incident, claiming the gun he used was on the stairs inside the home. The shooting happened on Cardington Court, just off of Sunset Road. Tammy McCollum died at the scene. Eddie made his first court appearance today and is still being held in jail without bond. CMS officials say he is suspended without pay, and the suspect worked as an assistant for the Exceptional Children program.
As for the silence after the lawyer arrived, the defense will shut that down immediately. The Fifth Amendment is a shield, not a sword. My client spoke openly and honestly until he was advised by counsel to remain silent, they will say. You cannot hold his constitutional rights against him. The defense will also question the actual argument. We don't know what it was about. We don't know who started it. The state wants you to assume Eddie was the aggressor, but the defense only has to create a shadow of a doubt. If the jury believes there is even a 1% chance this was a tragic accident, by law, they have to acquit. All right, jurors, it's time to talk. This is the segment we call the jury room. On one hand, you have the state, who says this is an open and shut case of domestic violence. You have a confession. You have a body. You have a man who put a shotgun to his wife of 30 years. The 911 call is a disaster for the defense. It shows a man who knows he did something unforgivable. On the other hand, you have the defense, who says look at the life they built. Look at the daughter swearing up and down that their marriage wasn't violent. Look at the husband begging God for help and refusing to leave her side. Is that the reaction of a cold-blooded murderer or a man having a nervous breakdown? Here are the hard questions nobody is asking. For the prosecution, what happens if Eddie changes his plea? He has the tape. He has the weapon. If he shows remorse, will the state offer a plea to second-degree murder to avoid a trial? Or do they push for a conviction on the top count? For the defense, their biggest disadvantage is the weapon itself. In North Carolina, the jury is allowed to infer intent from the use of a deadly weapon. How do you explain a shotgun accidentally firing? The defense has to find a narrative that isn't just we don't know, because we don't know loses to he confessed. So you have the facts. You have the arguments. We want to hear your verdict. Head down to the comments section right now and tell us 3 things. 1. Guilty of first-degree murder. 2. Not guilty. 3. Or a hung jury. This is True Crime Unraveled. If you see a story like this brewing in your own home or in the home of a neighbor, don't wait for a sermon. Don't wait for an anniversary post. Reach out. Get help. We will see you in the next breakdown.